The show may be over, but the MC still has something left to say. Please listen, I have something to announce. Be quiet until I'm finished. Ladies and gentlemen, and Aze.
How am I not a gentleman?
In many ways. Thank you for coming to our little production. I do hope all of you enjoyed it. But we mustn't forget to whom we dedicate this practical joke, someone who also had a small role to play. A round of applause to our already beloved substitute teacher.
I'm Peter's teacher.
Please come up to the stage and introduce yourself. We don't even know your name yet. The target of all the shouts and whistles, our victim stands petrified against the wall, even paler than before. At first she appears frightened, then she frowns until finally she scowls and begins puffing air out of her nose like an enraged bull.
We did a prank on the substitute teacher.
Okay. What other reaction could we expect from our little prank? Right? The three of us end up in the principal's office.
1,000 Lies, Chapter 2. I don't know, I'm kidding. Okay.
Is it Chapter 2? We didn't get to see it.
I don't know.
Anyway.
I don't think it was.
Okay, it's now recess at Dujan Institute. Dujain, or whatever. Aze and I go for a walk outside of the school grounds, wandering with no particular destination in mind, through the street that serves as the heart of our small town. It has become our routine. It's not even that big in the first place, but we live in a modest European town whose inhabitants thrive off a rich history and modern-day political lies. I've lived here my entire life, and the only positive quality I can think of is the fresh, unpolluted air. In other words, it's really boring here. Although it's still better to die of boredom than try to deal with those little brats back at the school.
Jeez, I never expected for it to end so badly. I didn't think it was a big deal. Even though we're pranking everyone more often than before, we haven't done anything too terrible. I guess that's the risk we took with doing it to a new teacher. Some people take life too seriously.
The comedian standing next to me is Aze Aldwine. He's a perverted, narcissistic guy who can't decide whether he loves women or his own reflection more.
Oh, jeez.
He calls himself a lady killer, and I can confirm that it's true, in a literal sense, from shock and terror, usually. Well, to be honest, I know he has a reputation as a womanizer around the school, but from what I've seen, I'm skeptical. He has stuck to me like a parasite ever since I transferred to this school a few years ago. Since then, just like with our little play, we've wasted our time pulling pranks and being, you know. Well, no question.
Being complete fools.
Yeah, I'm just faking it, but he really has a natural talent for it. Because of our infamous endeavors, no one can take us seriously. That's why we're known as class clowns above all else. In all the years we spent studying here, we've never gotten into any major trouble, just sometimes getting lectured or complained at. The fact that Aze, although it may seem impossible, has the highest grade in his class probably has something to do with it. And well, I'm just a pretty face, I guess. I'm a lucky guy who knows how to escape before the smoke sets off the alarm. But it seems we've scared the new teacher a little too much, especially by pretending she might have an immoral relationship with a student. But what else should we have expected from an age that places precedence on political correctness? Real issues are shrugged off while everyone is off living in their own bubbles, dreading that someone may try to pop it. Basically, right now they're discussing where they should chop our heads off and which weapon to use, axe or guillotine. I don't regret it though, it really wasn't that bad, they're just too sensitive.
Hey, are you listening to me?
No, I was monologuing.
Are you doodling again? Every time I get distracted, you always have your nose in that notebook.
It's impressive how long it can take for Aze to notice his surroundings. Since we left, I've been writing in the small pocket-sized notebook that I always keep with me. And no, I wasn't listening to him. I don't consider it healthy to pay attention to him anyways.
I've asked you a couple of times already. Are you going to show me what you're writing eventually or not? We've been friends for like 6 years. Still, you've never let me see it.
I puff and close the notebook with my thumb and index finger. It's a question that I should expect by now, seeing as this fixation of mine usually catches everyone's attention at some point. No, it's not weird to write entries in a diary or to jot down ideas, neither of which was what I was doing. It's only because I do it so often that it's even noteworthy. What am I writing? No, Aze, your question is incorrect, seeing as I'm not the one who's writing anything. It's my hand. It moves by itself. Every time I have the premonition of a catastrophe, my fingers themselves scribe a future into this notebook. I've been keeping it a secret because this power, if put in the wrong hands, could be used for evil.
Catastrophe? Wait a second. Are you messing with me? Catastrophe how? Am I in danger?
My friend's verbosity suddenly accelerates within a second. Meanwhile, I open the notebook and read what I had just written, then turn my gaze away and bite my lip.
Hey. I don't like that face. What did you just read? I hope it's not something harmful to me. Oh!
At that very moment, I shiver. It was as if lightning had struck me. With no control over my body, I write a short sentence on a new page and then rip it out as the premonition finishes.
He disappeared.
Oh gosh, where'd he go?
Oh, he's right there. Okay. The way he disappeared, that he's like
gone.
Okay, now you're really freaking me out. What did you write?
I can't tell you.
Hand it over.
Aze snatches the crumpled sheet of paper away from me. Finally, while trying to keep a composure that he clearly lacks, he reads its contents.
The time is quickly approaching. Something worse than death will hunt you down. Disappearing in a flash. Ah!
Oh, that's you.
I only touched you on your shoulder. Why'd you jump? How are my favorite guys? I've got good news. What kind of premonition is this, CR?
Well, I wrote about something worse than death, and then Ziva came along. I think it hit the mark.
What are you talking about? Why do I get the feeling that it isn't good? Let's not get into the details. Sierra was writing in his notebook again, and I wanted to know what it was, since he never tells us.
Ziva moves her gaze from Aze to me, blinding me with a sparkle shimmering in her eyes so brightly that it resembles a lighthouse.
Oh, so Andy was compulsively writing in his notebook again. Can I see what you wrote too, eh? Can I?
She tries to steal my pocket-sized notebook by jumping on me, but since I'm used to her trying this kind of thing, I manage to evade her in time and hide it away in my back pocket. Hands off, Sigmund Freud!
Jeez, so unfair. If you won't show it to me, then your treatment will never progress, Andy.
Don't be deceived by her charm and appeal. Ziva Shani is one of the most dangerous species in the entire world, according to 9 out of 10 experts. While most of my fellow fauna will tell you the opposite since they're all madly in love with her, to me, Ziva's nothing more than a headache.
I want to know who these 9 out of 10 people are.
I mean, just take a look at her. It's like she's straight out of an RPG with those clothes. But since she's attractive, everyone just turns a blind eye.
I agree about the clothes comment.
If I had to describe her, I'd say she's a wannabe psychologist with a touch of insidiousness and deceit, who has also been determined to ruin my life since the very first moment we met earlier this year. Her dream is to go to college and focus on the studies of the human mind, and what better practice than experimenting with mine first. Somehow she found out about my habit of scribbling in my notebook, which she described as interesting and hasn't stopped bugging me since. She decided I'd be her test subject. Not a week goes by where she doesn't try to psychoanalyze me or fish my paper scraps out of the trash and read them. Even worse, sometimes she tries to steal my notebook so she can discover its secrets.
Oh, nosy. Psychologist in the making.
At least now she calls me by my surname. Before that, I was just patient to her. The only thing that needs to be treated is your head, Ziva. Well, what were you going to say before you attacked me?
Oh yeah, I almost forgot. I snuck into the teacher's lounge and gave them my biggest, saddest puppy dog eyes so I could pacify them and blah 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 blah. They only gave me the usual speech and sent me away. Aren't I lucky?
Well, that should have been expected. It wasn't that bad. I guess I won't be scolded again this time either.
Huh? I wasn't talking about you guys, just me.
Then what part of that exactly do you call good news?
Because I get off and you don't. I thought you'd be happy for me, Andy. I didn't expect you to react so selfishly. Come on, they can't be that hard on us. If they let Ziva get away with it, then our fate will probably be the same. No, you guys are guys. We've done worse things day after day and nothing has ever happened, right?
Yeah, but this time it was all the master plan of this lady right here, who also insisted on participating in one of our operations with us. And she doesn't even care what happens to her comrades now.
Seriously, that explains why Ziva would participate with us in all of this, but... It was you who owed me one, Indy, so stop complaining. Plus, I was just messing with you. I wouldn't really hang you out to dry. I'm not so sure. You don't have to worry about anything. The substitute is angry, but the rest of the staff didn't really take it seriously. The only thing you've got to do now is apologize to her and shed some crocodile tears to show how very sorry you are and you're finished. See how easy it is? I can't believe you don't trust me, Andy. You have such little faith in me.
Little to none. Anyways, that was the bare minimum you could have done since you were involved, so stop grumbling.
I did help you though, so I want a favor in return. Can you come with me to...
Request denied. No favors.
Oh, just straight out, huh? Jeez.
Yeah, he's a picky guy, I guess. I don't know.
Come on, what's with the long faces? Remember how in less than a month finals begin? Less fighting and more having a good time so we can leave this place with good impressions, okay? By the way, Ziva, what kind of favor did he owe you, if you don't mind my asking? I think this is the first time I've heard of CR owing anyone a favor without a bet somewhere being involved. Heck, not too long ago, he wouldn't do anything unless there was a bet involved. Oh, it was nothing. I just asked my uncle if he knew about a certain package since he worked at the post office. Speaking of which, you never did tell me what that was all about. You told me you'd explain it to me another time.
I fold my arms in and raise an eyebrow, resigning myself to answer despite my clear lack of interest.
Yeah, because they both want to know.
It's kind of a bad anecdote, but I guess we have the time anyways.